All right.
Give us the countdown until we go live.
Ready?
We're about 3, 2.
Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. We have some wonderful people here at the Art See and Shop and some incredibly gifted and talented leaders with our panel today. My name is Donovan, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Cultural Council of Greater Jacksonville. And today we are inside the Art See and Shop, sponsored by Heinz, the Marcus at Town Center, and it is your local gallery.
Where you can come to support. Hello. Ooh, well. Let's see how that is.
Hello. Ooh, okay, good. I like good suspense. Or you can support your local artists with 65% of the proceeds going back to them and the rest going to local innovation funding. So we are so excited to be in this space and to celebrate and to use this area and gallery and cultural experience as a convener and a place to have conversations, and conversations that are important and timely, that impact our hearts and our communities and our neighbors, that bring people together. We had Rodney Hurst here not too long ago. We had his First Coast Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as well, featuring fabulous female artists. We did a wonderful exhibit with Sistas Incorporated for Start with the Arts during Black History Month. And we're going to continue to have some incredible programming for today, Thursday, this upcoming Thursday, in this space where we'll be able to have 2 fabulous artists that will be featured here and their works prominently displayed. Agnes Lopez is one and who's in the audience today, and a couple other, Doug Ng and Elena, and some other wonderful artists that will be displayed for you to be able to see and appreciate and experience in your own way, and then also come out and celebrate to some very Asian American fabulous music and celebrations on the outside street. So a lot of great things coming up, a lot of celebrations, but today we're here to have a very serious conversation. There has been a lot of pain in the Asian American community, and More Art Culture as the Cultural Council felt like, one of the ways that we connect most is with the people we care about. And fortunately, Sharol, who's to my right, she and I met at an event that was meant to convene people together. And Sel, one of our board of directors, is here today, and he did a Ramadan dinner where people from multiple representations and religions and backgrounds were able to come together and to appreciate and enjoy each other. And at that dinner, I met Sharol, and it was kismet. And we immediately started talking about how we could serve the Asian American community. And prior to that conversation, I had the pleasure of meeting Elena. And Elena has been an incredible activist and has used her art in a powerful way to share her personal story, but also to amplify the voices of others who are maybe feeling the same way that she feels, but are not able to articulate it in the way that she has. And the other 2 panelists that we're all about to walk through, Tina and Dr. Wei, have done tremendous things in the community. So it is an honor and a privilege to be here today to be able to share with you the talent that we have in our community, the breadth and depth of knowledge, the heart and the compassion. And we're hoping that today's conversation is seen and heard with open ears, that we're able to connect and empathize, that we can celebrate the differences in our community and connect them back to the humanity that we all love and we all know truly to be in our hearts. So with that being said, we will get to the introductions. To my right is Sharol, and she is born in California, first-generation Filipino-American. Her parents immigrated to the U.S. in the 1960s. Sharol is very active in her Asian community and the city of Jacksonville. Chair of the City of Jacksonville's Mayor's Asian American Advisory Board, a commissioner on the City of Jacksonville's Housing and Community Development Commission, past vice principal of the Jacksonville Chinese School, president of Night of Asia, and is an alumni for Leadership Jacksonville, as I will soon be in a week.
LJ19.
Hey, get LJ in the audience. Within the Filipino community, Sharol is president of the Filipino Language and Cultural School, executive director and choreographer of the Phil Millennials Dance Group, and a member of the Night Knights of Roselle Ladies Auxiliary. She's done many things and is also a program manager at Florida Blue. So one of the things I would like to do is see what kind of coffee you're drinking, Sharol, because this is a wonderfully dynamic resume, and we are so lucky to have you as a thought leader in our community. Next we have Dr. Zhou, and he is the current president of the Jacksonville Chinese Association. He has been instrumental in organizing the Asian Hate Rally and the upcoming Asian Town Hall meeting. He's a statistician, for a medical device company and a huge activist and a heart for community. He is one of the best examples of taking your influence and role in a community and turning it into action in real time. So we're very honored to have him here today. And next we have Tina, born in Vietnam. Tina is the youngest of 3 children. Her father fought against the communists during the Vietnam War. When the war ended, Tina's father left his family behind in Vietnam and traveled to the US in search of a better life for his family. At the age of 12, Tina, with her mother and 2 older siblings, joined her father in America. She quickly learned the language and culture and adapted to her new lifestyle. Tina is the vice president for the Vietnamese Association of Jacksonville, Florida, is a former member of the Jacksonville Diversity Council, the former treasurer for the Mayor's Asian American Advisory Board, and a board member for the Night of Asia. She is a member of the Asian American Realtors Association, and Tina owns her own brokerage, Golden Pen Realty. So we're happy to have you here, Tina. And last, but certainly not least, is Elena. And she is a force to be reckoned with. She's a wonderful woman and a human being in person, and I've had the privilege to get to know her personally. And as a mother, as a female, as an artist, as a professional, she's just someone who never misses a beat or an opportunity to champion someone else. And so it's nice to have this opportunity to champion her. She is a multi-talented visual artist in mixed media and mural making. She has been recently showcased on the Tamarind Hall show. She was featured there for a lot of her activism through her art. And she has been displayed widely across Jacksonville and actually within this gallery as well. So we are very, very excited to have her here and to be able to showcase her talent, but also her intellectual prowess in this area and how she's been helping Jacksonville learn to grow together and be together. So that being said, let's get into the panel questions. We have a lot of timely updates. Just before this meeting, Sharol and I sat down and we were talking about some of the things that happened, some even like 47 minutes, maybe an hour and a half ago, that are hugely impactful to the Asian American community. So that being said, I'll start with Sharol just to open up and sort of set the scene for the Asian American community, to share that very timely update with us all and to get our conversation flowing.
Okay, so what has just happened today is there was a bill, a hate crimes bill, that was just passed. I mean, last week it was in the Senate and passed the Senate, and just today, probably just an hour and a half ago, I did find out that it passed Congress and the House as well. And this is a huge bill because it addresses the surge in attacks in Asian Americans due to the the COVID pandemic. It would create a Justice Department position focusing on on issues and beef up state and local crime reporting. So, this is really going to help our community, starting from the top down. So once they figure out, once the bill is passed, then a structure should be formed, and then we'll start to see the effects here in our community. So I'm very, very excited that that passed.
As we're sharing these timely matters, one of the ways that we share information is through social media. So social media can be a gathering force, it can be a place to celebrate and connect, it can be a source of activism, and it can also be a source of hatred. It can also be bias in many ways, as we've learned throughout the year of sharing things through one perspective or having things shared through a perspective of those that share your perspective. And so with that being said, as we navigate social media and we decide how we share and who we share with and what we share and how we interact with people and the courage that comes with coming from behind the screen of being more emboldened to say things maybe you wouldn't say in person, we're seeing a lot of things shared in a new way and a lot of things shared for the positive, to help bring awareness and to help bring activism and bring light to the situation, and some things that are detrimental and hurtful and untrue, and things impacting people across the nation. So with that being said, Tina and I had a great conversation earlier about what social media how it's impacted her personally and her family life. And then also, talking about businesses and Asian American businesses. And as a business owner, she has some really great perspective to share on that from some places and spaces that, you may have experienced in Jacksonville.
Thank you. For the social media platforms, I always thought that is a great way to communicate and to share, and I never thought, and I had never imagined until reasons about the hate crimes on Asian. I never thought we would be the target. Thank you for bringing the social media platform up, because as I was scrolling through Facebook, and I belong to many groups, and most of the Vietnamese, as you all know, probably own the majority of the industry called the nail salons. We do have a lot of rooms and forums that we share. One incident that really got my attention and really broke my heart was when there was a salon that received a very hateful letter mailed to their business. And in the letter, basically, it's it talks bad about the way Asian look, and it even talks about what kind of food we eat, and it's not even true. You guys eat dogs and cats and all of that, and it was very bad. It's a very bad letter that was written to a nail shop, and so that nail salon took a picture and shared with all the other nail salon owners to make sure to beware. And as I was reading it, my daughter, she's only 10, and she got a hold of the copy of the letter, and within minutes she read the letter, and she was about to break down and cry, and she's like, "Mommy, why are they saying all this not true things about us as Asians? We don't even do any of this stuff. Why are they laughing at the color of our skin?" And at that point, that's when it hit me really hard, even though she did not get that letter directly, but the information that was on that letter basically had damaged her because she now already seen the letter. And I had to take a minute to explain to her that unfortunately there are some bad people in this world that don't understand, or that are jealous, or maybe they came from a really bad family background where they did not get a lot of love. So that's why they feel the hate and inside of them. That's why they have to put it out to the world. And unfortunately, we are the target for now. But I have tried to explain to her that it doesn't matter how bad people treat you at school or wherever you're on the playground. Just know that we have done everything right, and we have nothing to be afraid of or ashamed of. As long as you're nice to people and respect people, it doesn't matter if you're Asian, black, white, Hispanic, purple, it doesn't matter. So she calmed down, but she said, "But that's really sad. It's sad that I seen this letter, Mommy." And I said, "I'm sorry, baby, but that's what most of the adults are having to deal with now, me as an adult. So that's why I'm here, to protect you." And on that same note, many of the nail salon owners, not in just Jacksonville, Florida, but all over the country, have been encounter an abundance of hate. I don't know how to describe it, but people come into a salon to get their service done, and in return they pay for it, but then in return they came in and they basically just intimidate and yelling and screaming at the owners, and the owners have done nothing wrong. On top of that, many of the Vietnamese owners are limited in English language, so they can't speak very clearly and explain to them what is going on. So in return, the customer took that as, well, you disrespecting me, you don't appreciate my business because you can't speak the English language fluently, and therefore that became a crime because you can't speak English. It's very sad to see that happening across the country and not just in Jacksonville. Fortunately, we don't have as many of those crimes here in Jacksonville, and I'm thankful for that. But I know in our community, we try our best to do the right thing and respect everyone so that they won't be put in situations like that. But thank you for asking.
Thank you, Tina. You made a comment about, Jacksonville, what happens here, and what reporting is like. And I think, and to your very good point also about language barriers. And the First Coast Hispanic Chamber was sharing that, as an immigrant, when they come, and Weave Tales shared this as well, when you go to a new country, just to add a little empathy into the situation, imagine moving to a country you've never lived in, where you don't know anyone, where you're trying to find a job and you don't know the language. And I've had friends and people that I have known who've traveled, abroad, and you can see that people there sometimes speak 5 languages. So there is an empathy and compassion for someone who goes to a new country and restarts everything and rebuilds. And not only are they living and operating in a language that's not their first language, but they're, maneuvering and providing for a family and working in a workspace. So I think that makes a great point to how we can honor how beautifully dynamic you have to be to do that. And to the point of reporting in Jacksonville and Asian hate crimes happening within our city, I'm going to ask Sharol to just share some perspective on that, because she and I had a great conversation earlier about what that looks like, what reporting looks like, why people may or may not report, and what the experience with JSO has been, and then a recent update that she shared with me.
When all the Asian hate crimes came about, the city was contacted, the Mayor's Asian Advisory Board was contacted, and they said, what should we do if we experience hate crimes or discrimination? And we reached out to JSO and the Jacksonville Human Rights Commission, and if you have any hate crimes against you, then you should be reporting it to JSO. If you have any incidences of discrimination or unfair labor practices in the workplace, that should be reported to the Human Rights Commission as well. So in our discussion with JSO, they said, we're very proud to report, and this was as of last week, they were saying there have been no hate crimes reported in Jacksonville. But as recently as yesterday, there now have been 2 discrimination incidences that have been reported. However, we do know, and Wei and I have discussed this as well as with the Chinese Association, that hate does occur. And because Asians typically look within, if something happens to you, you keep it to yourself. We have all been taught that you keep it to yourself. You just put it aside. You're taught to just work harder, ignore it, but deep, deep, deep down inside, we hold those microaggressions within us. And then now what's happening is it's starting to come out within us. And that's, what we're experiencing now. We're calling it the racial renewal. That people are realizing, we need to talk. We need to talk about this. And so, that's the latest update is we have to now report.
Thank you. Dr. Wei, you have been instrumental in helping to organize sort of how Jacksonville as a city and a community, and the Asian American community, helps start to express and exercise that new voice, and how you can have champions of all cultures help support our Asian American experience in our city. Do you want to share a little bit about what you've done, what you're working on, and why you believe it's important?
So actually, I came to Jacksonville about 2.5 years ago. And actually, my life was very simple. Like in Jacksonville, I didn't, socialize a lot because I kind of stayed to myself. And I really, the hate crimes of violence or discrimination never really came to my mind. I knew, from day one, I knew there was discrimination, but I never really thought very deeply about it, because it rarely happened to me. I mean, there were cases where I personally was verbally attacked because of my race, but it was kind of rare. So I really didn't dig it until like the pandemic hit, the COVID-19 pandemic, and I began to hear that Asian Americans, the Asian community, were under attack because people thought, oh, you're Asian, so you brought in the virus, so we're constantly blamed for the pandemic. So, and also, I felt, well, it's so unfair, and I saw on TV, on news, elderly people, Asian elderly people, they got pushed down by someone, just randomly, by someone. So definitely there was no, he didn't do anything, actually. He was just walking, and someone just pushed him from behind, and he got seriously injured. And some Asian folks, at the beginning of the pandemic, they were very cautious about the virus, and they put on masks. And when people saw them, they began hating them because, oh, why you guys are so weird? We are wearing masks. You must be carrying the virus. So it was really shocking. And such cases were so many, like on and on and on. I've seen so many such cases either on TV or from online. And but that was not yet the end of the story. In March, like in the outskirts of Atlanta, we all know that there was a shooting where a young man killed 8 people in 3 different massage parlors, and six of them were women of Asian descent. So I felt, wow, this thing has come to a point where our lives are not guaranteed in America. Our safety and lives were so threatened, and we felt unsafe. And the whole Asian community, their fear for their safety and lives, were brought to a new height. They are fearful for their children, for their friends, for everyone in their community. So I felt, oh, we can't really sit at home doing nothing. We should stand up for ourselves, for our human rights, for our dignity and pride. I was looking for some organization, see if there's anyone holding a rally somewhere. I would like to join, but I couldn't find any in Jacksonville. Maybe there were some, but I didn't find any. So I thought maybe it's time for me to stand up and lead our people, to let out our voice. So that's why, what led to our rally in April. So I reached out to, Jacksonville Chinese Association, and also to people within the Asian community and in the greater society of Jacksonville. So I reached out to people, including Sharol, and we united together, and we invited a lot of guests, and we just did advertisement and publicity so that people could attend. So we were thankful for for the happening of the rally in April. Although, unfortunately, it was cut short by a thunderstorm, and most of the speakers, they did not get to speak because of the rain. But we said this. We're not giving up. We'll continue to let us to speak up for Asian Americans and the Pacific Islanders. And that's why we're holding a conference again on this Saturday. So we've been now, we've invited about a dozen speakers. and we're sending out our flyer, and we've created an event on Facebook. So we have reached out to the news outlets so that our event can be well publicized. And that's what we're doing, preparing for the conference. And of course, a rally and a conference alone will not be enough to perpetuate Asian pride, and our fight for AAPI. But this is definitely a good start because everyone is really involved. I think I'm so glad and so grateful that people, when I asked them to join me, they did. They showed support. They showed their love for Asian people, for the Asian community, and the love for all, actually. Because they are standing by all the victims of the racism and hate crimes. This is not just for Asian people, actually. This is for everyone. Because people involved in our initiatives, they believe everyone deserves the highest dignity. Everyone, no one should be just, discriminated against or be marginalized in this society. So we'll definitely, we'll continue fighting. Like in the future, we'll definitely unite people of all colors, and ask them to join us in the fight against racism, hate crimes, and violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, and that was very well said, because we're hearing a lot of awareness and activism and community education and different venues for that as we're finding our voice in rallies, as we're finding them on a panel, as we're finding them on social media, and the community being able to express itself in a way that is being heard and on platforms that are requiring acknowledgement from communities outside of Asian American. And I know that, Elena, you've done a lot with your work, in that you've shared in some previous interviews, how you've been creating and how it's impacted your creative process, the message you've been trying to share. We've heard protect our elders, we've heard protect our women from the Asian American community, for a lot of the targeted reasons that the doctor just shared. What has your experience been? What do you find most empowering for you? And also, how has it personally affected you? And what have you done to help unite your community and communities with yours?
Thank you. I think it's such a heavy topic. As a visual artist, oftentimes I'm inspired by the world around me. And I didn't see myself being an art activist. That wasn't in my intention, to make work that reflected society right now and what's happening. But about March of 2020, I was working on this big mural in Arlington here in Jacksonville, and I had the letter A to help spell out Arlington. It was such a community-based mural, and it's become a part of our community, really. I think I see people engaging with it all the time, taking selfies and having events and doing music videos and all kinds of really fun, creative things that are community focused. But while I was up there, it was like I had from February to March, along with the other artists, to finish the work. And I was up there on this big rig that takes you up in the air so you can reach high spaces. And I was working, and someone stopped by and kind of waved me down from the top of the wall. And that happens a lot when you make public art, you want to engage with the community and tell them what's going on and what inspired you to make the work that you make. and a guy, he waved me down. I came down because I couldn't hear him, and he said, "Hey, you're wearing a mask, but you're wearing the wrong one." And I was like, "No, I'm not. This is an aspirator for spray paint, so that I'm not inhaling toxic fumes." And he said, "No, you should be wearing an N95 because you might have the coronavirus." And I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, no. And then I realized perhaps this was a racially stimulated comment. And I said, okay, well, it's not the wrong mask, and I just went about my task. And a couple weeks later, after I finished that project, I went into Publix. I love Publix and their fried chicken. But we had kind of gone into quarantine, but someone has to go to the store. You can either get delivery or you can go. So I went, and I walked past a red box, and there was someone getting a DVD in 2020. And I was like, okay, cool. And she turned around, she saw me walking into Publix, and she said, "Go back to China." And I was like, is she talking to me? Yeah, she is. And other people are there, and they don't say anything. They saw it happen, they heard it. And I went about my business, and I probably got my fried chicken. And I came out, and I realized that I'm internalizing these microaggressions, these racial slurs, these acts of aggression verbally, and if I'm doing it, then I imagine other people are. And so in that time, I started to see more and more acts of violence happening, some much more violent, right? Like physical, to the point of death, right? That's escalated over a year's time, a little over a year now. And in that time, I realized that with my platform, I have an opportunity to bring awareness to this topic in hopes to promote the positive change that I want to see in this world. And sometimes I have to show the really hard parts of what's going on and reflect that. And one of those things was, I'll start with the first one that I thought was the most impactful in terms of response from the public, which was, I saw a social media post of a man in his perhaps 50s to 60s, and he was in some kind of store wearing a mask, and it was wrongly put on, which is fine, but it was on, and on it he hand wrote a racial slur. Chinks. Thanks, Chinks. And I saw that, and I was thinking, wow, this is America today. This is happening right now. And I reflected it in my work, and I shared it, and I got a whole lot of comments and a whole lot of adding to social media, which we had talked about before with Tina, and they ridiculed me. And I was like, whoa, there's a context for this. Like, I am reflecting what's happening, going on. This is not my actual thoughts about the Asian community. In fact, I'm Asian myself. And so much occurred there. And then moving forward into 2021, Noel Quintana was on a NYC subway and got slashed across the face. And I saw that, and I felt his pain, and I feel the pain from every person that goes through that when I see it in the media every day. And I can't stop myself from making the work, but also I don't want to make the work anymore. Because no matter if whatever your background is, no one should have to fear for their lives every day. And I connect with so many marginalized communities in a way that I hadn't before. Yeah, I had microaggressions in the past. racial slurs, verbal things, but now it's escalated to a point where I have to tell my daughter that there's an Asian slap challenge going on TikTok. So when you're out with your friends in public, be careful. Be careful of what's going on around you. And so that's how it's impacted me personally, but also it connects all of us on this level of humanity. And that's what I hope to do with my work.
Thank you, Elena, for sharing that perspective and for helping us all remember that, you know, this could be our daughter or our grandmother or grandfather or husband or wife or, you know, family member or friend or best friend or coworker. And, you know, one of the ways that we can all stand together is that when we see these things happening, learning what to say, learning how to do it safely or helping someone get to safety or interacting or, you know, not being a bystander or being silent. And I think these panels, as they're beginning to grow and become more popular across the nation, are adding an important human aspect to the conversation, but also an important call to action for us as we maneuver out in the community to, when you know better, you do better. And so as we're closing out the panel, I'd like to pass the microphone around and have you share your each individual call to action to the community and how people can help connect who are from the Asian American community or other communities to help support the healing in this process, help support awareness, education, activism, and how to help be owners and partners beside you.
Thank you, Diana. For myself personally, you know, I recognize that we as Asians have tended to look within ourselves, and even our communities are siloed. We have wonderful events that happen that are not publicized. The Vietnamese have a 3-day Vietnamese, you know, Vietnamese New Year, widely celebrated but never publicized. You know, the Chinese celebrate Chinese New Year. You know, wonderful celebration, not publicized. Cambodians have a large celebration. I mean, these are huge events in our community, and they have not been celebrated community-wide. So for me personally, you know, I really want to make sure that Asians are seen, that Asians are celebrated, that we're able to make Jacksonville more culturally diverse, because, you know, having a very diverse community will just grow our community. And Diana and I have talked a lot about this. I mean, she and I meeting at CELS was really, you know, God's plan for us to meet, as well as to really get the community, you know, more aware and just to grow, you know, things that are going on. So that's my personal thing. Let's get art into the community. Let's celebrate us being Asian, and let's celebrate and raise awareness of our community.
So I think this is, you know, Elena's work is definitely a great example of how our, you know, as Asian Americans can make a huge impact to this country, to the society. Looking around, I see this beautiful arts. You know, they show the angle where the artist sees this world. It's so beautiful. You can tell, like, in Elena's eyes, this world is so pretty, full of love, full of colors, full of emotions. So I think every Asian American, and a Pacific Øhlander, I think I encourage them to have this awareness to make a positive impact, not only to your small family, but also to the bigger family, which is the society, this country, this world. And also, you know, even actually, it sounds like a big effort, but actually it's not. Actually, as long as you start from yourself, you know, focus on what you do, like you can start building a positive, you know, positive impact at work, in your own neighborhood. So just to start from small things. And I also think I would suggest that as Asians, please feel confident to step out of your circle, to mingle with people from different cultures. Because I've seen this constantly. Like Asian people, they tend to hang out just with themselves. They keep to themselves. That's overall impression from my friends, non-Asian friends. They always think Asian people, they keep to themselves. They are mysterious. So I would really ask us to take actions to break this stereotype. By starting from yourself, by reaching out to people from different cultures, to mingle with them, to socialize with them, to help them, for them to see, oh, you Asians you're normal people like us. You're not that mysterious. You don't have virus. You are full of love. Just like everyone in the world, every person. You are human, right? So I think that's my suggestion. Not only focus our small circle, but also be brave. I know probably it's hard to start, but I'm sure in the long run, you all see the impact, our impact.
To kind of piggyback to Sharol's point is to celebrate all the diversity in Jacksonville, especially the Asian community, and to make sure that we all here, I mean, basically I think the entire continent of Asia is represented in Jacksonville. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. And then to Dr. Wei's point is to get out of the comfort zones. And I completely agree with both of you. For me, what I would like to see is to call, especially the Vietnamese community, not just in the Jacksonville and the surrounding area, but the Vietnamese around the whole country. I think the biggest fear beside getting out of the comfort zone, we probably have the same fear, but the fear of being retaliated. Many of the Asian, especially the Vietnamese people in our community work very hard, very respectful, very loyal. However, when it comes to speak up and speak out, we always tend to fear that we are being retaliated in one way or another. I think that's because of the background where we used to come from the communist government that will always retaliate and you have no freedom of speech. So therefore, when you come here to this country, you brought that fear with you. So many times, I'm not sure if the Chinese or the Filipinos community have the same fear, but I know from the Vietnamese community, we fear that we will get retaliated. We don't know what's going to happen if we speak the truth. And I myself have been here for almost 30 years, finally started to get out and actually speak my mind and trying to teach my kids and being a role model to them and say that as long as you speak your mind respectfully and share your feelings, I'm sure whoever that receiving that message will understand you and would not go back and retaliate you. So for the Vietnamese community, I would like to encourage all of our people to not worry about being retaliated and to speak up whenever something like this happened to you or to somebody you know or you love, or just happen to walk into Publix and a fellow person, member, somebody came from the same continent that being discriminated against, and by all means speak up and not just ignore them and walk away. So that is my call of action, is to encourage everyone to speak up, because if not, nobody can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, my call to action, I suppose, after the experiences that I had personally, I took some time to do some research about bystander intervention training, and I found that Hollaback actually has a pretty comprehensive one, which reaches so many communities but has one specifically catered to what's going on in the Asian American community. And I sat in on one of their workshops and started to understand not only how I can be speaking my voice and instead of internalizing, perhaps reporting. There is StopAAPIHate.org by Dr. Russell Zhou out of San Francisco State University. But outside of that, in your individual communities, because that's a nationwide thing, how can I show up for others, right? Because let's say I am in Publix and I see someone go through the same thing that I went through, and what do? Do I take out my phone? Do I ask them if they're okay? Do I call for help? Or is it violent? Is it not violent? There is a training for that. So find out your resources, right? And be present and show up for others when there's something morally wrong happening in front of you, in whatever way that feels safe for you. Yeah.
Thank you. A warm thank you to our wonderful panel for sharing from your hearts and your perspectives and your expertise. These conversations are never easy, but always important, and we're really honored to have you here today and to have you sharing this space with us. And I want to say thank you to the people who are here in the audience today, and you can see and feel in the room really where the heart is right now, and we appreciate the opportunity to be able to provide a platform to a community that needs and requires a lot of help and love right now for us to come together as a more cultural community, whether it's through the arts or through our areas of advocacy that we have in all aspects of our life. And so after you've hearing these wonderful call to actions, we'll close with just sharing that we all have a light inside us, and we all get to decide how brightly it shines, where it shines, and how it shines. And I just want to encourage you to keep your flame bright and strong. And thank you all for being with us today.